Let's see who all shows up for my first ever live as I drink this pre-workout. Tastes good. Watermelon flavored. Okay. I don't see anybody here, but that's okay. I'll be here for about a little while, a little bit. Oh. I still don't get why some people are really upset about um what's his name, Islam not being pound for pound number one. Well, y'all gotta understand, it's the fact that Volk is a lot smaller and put up as good of a fight that he did. It proves that weight classes matter. So I'm just saying random stuff until someone gets here. I got two people. I don't know who they are, but let's see. Where are they? Oh, I can't see. I got two people. Now they're gone. Ugh. This tastes nasty. If you're wondering what this is just a pre-workout. We'll see. It just depends on what Sark does. I mean, look, I don't have a problem with him. I really don't. It's just all the time. And you can't win at least 10 games a year. First year, you could have at least made the Alamo Bowl. This past year, you had Quinn Ewers, Bijan Robinson. That defense, which played lights out most games. And the only reason they gave up a lot of points to Oklahoma State and other teams because the defense got tired because the offense could not sustain drives. Because without Bijan, Quinn Ewers could not do anything. I don't know if it's because of his injury was in the back of his head. I don't know what happened. Maybe I'm wrong. He might come back and turn out to be really good, but we'll see. It is what it is. But again, if Sark can win at least 10 games this year, including at least make it to the Big 12 championship, then I will say, you know what? He's the right guy. He's turning this program into a proud program, a winning program. Not winning like 7, 8 games a year winning. I'm talking about 10 plus wins a year winning program. If he does that, he should stay. Those are my minimal expectations for Texas. Okay? If he can't at least do that, then he needs to go. Plain and simple. But that sucks if he goes right before they're going into the SEC because they go to the SEC next year. But yeah, it is what it is. All right, we'll see. That was good. Trying to feel that rush. When I feel like it hits its peak, I'm going to get off and do my workout. I don't know if you guys can tell, but you look at my old videos from 2021, my face was a lot worse. I'm down to like 250 pounds. If it doesn't, who do you want? Well, that's a good question. It depends who's available, Personally, I feel like they should have kept Tom Herman, I get why they let him go, but that was a COVID year. And they didn't get 12 games. They only had 9 or 10 games that year, so I think they would have won at least 9 or 10 games if they had a regular schedule, but it is what it is. I don't know. That's a hard question. I would say Urban Meyer, but I don't think he'll go to Texas. So it depends. Excuse me. But we'll see. I'm really interested to see what Alabama does in the second half. Not the second half, but this year. I feel like it's going to go one of two ways, and I'm going to make a video about it, but it's going to go one of two ways. He's either going to come back and take control of college football game by beating everybody, or he'll win less than 10 games he'll call it quits. I feel like he at this point he has nothing to prove to anybody. He's already solidified himself as the GOAT in terms of being the greatest of all time when it comes to coaching college football. He's the GOAT already. He has nothing left to really prove. So at this point, he has nothing to lose. So that makes him dangerous. I remember how he was talked about at the national championship game. What's that guy's name? Someone told him that Georgia is the best program right now, or something like that, and that kind of made him mad. I could tell he was upset about that. So knowing Nick Saban, he's going to respond the right way, but can he? We'll see. Again, I mean, Tua left in 2019. 2020, they won the national championship with a backup quarterback like Mac Jones. Not to say he's not good, but he wasn't Tua because Tua was better than him. But he still did it. So that tells me that they're capable of doing it again. Because who all does Alabama play? They play Texas A&M at A&M. That's going to be a hard game. Jimbo's already beaten him. And Jimbo was competitive with him last year, but again, that's without Bryce Young, so it wouldn't have been that competitive, if I'm being honest. I think they'll beat A&M again, even with Bobby Petrino as the, offensive coordinator, because it's not going to look great after 1 year. It'll be better. The offense will be pretty good, but it won't be an elite offense. That's just my opinion, despite the elite talent that Texas A&M has. They also have Auburn, who I think can beat Alabama at home. And I like that Hugh Freeze. And people aren't really excited, but I'm excited about Hugh Freeze. See, I like Auburn, so they're my SEC team because they're hard nosed. They tackle really good defensively. They make big plays defensively. Usually not lately, but you know what I mean. Overall, as a program, and their offense is usually a running team. They run the football very well. So you have Hugh Freeze coming who knows what he's doing and probably wants to be there. The players are going to play for him. So I don't think Auburn's going to be elite. I think they'll be pretty good. They'll be respectable again. You might see them win 7, 8 games. But that game's in Auburn, and Alabama always struggles there. I think Kiffin, nah, I don't think he'll be the right fit for Texas. I just don't think so. Um, I think if he didn't go to Auburn already, I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. I think he's gonna make some noise at Ole Miss this year. I really do, honestly, because he's already been there for a while. This is about to be his 4th year. 2020 was his first. Yep, 4th year. So they got to play Georgia this year. That's gonna be an interesting game. I don't think they'll beat Georgia, but I think they'll put up a fight because Ole Miss puts up points on almost anybody that they play. Almost anybody when they show up to play. I mean, it's obviously they lost to Mississippi State and they lost to Texas Tech in the bowl, but they clearly were. That was not those games, in my opinion. Even the Arkansas game, those weren't accurate representations of what Alabama, Ole Miss really was all about. Ole Miss was clearly at minimal a 9-10 win team this past year. They should have been an 11-12 win team, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. They were, in my opinion, they were a better team than LSU. They just had to go to LSU and play them there. And Alabama went there and played them too. 2 weeks later, and they lost. So it wasn't a bad loss. They just didn't look right. College football, nothing makes sense. I would say Mike Norvell, but he needs to stay at Florida State. Look at this. Garrett Riley, he might be a good fit there, but I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel like I've been crapping on Steve Sarkisian. I understand it's about to be his 3rd year. His 1st year, I get Casey Thompson wasn't the guy, and he obviously had struggles at Nebraska, but you still had talent around him, and the defense had too much talent already to be playing as bad as they were. And who's the head honcho of the whole program at that time? Sarkisian. And the way they've been losing, but we'll see. I mean, I just haven't really been invested in college football lately as much as I normally am because I do teach also in my personal life. I teach 5th grade math. Where's that laptop? I don't see it. It's in my book bag. I'm not pulling it out right now. That's where I keep track of grades and do all kinds of stuff. I'm a paraprofessional, but they needed a math teacher, and I was offered the job first because I'm good with kids, so I took it. I was like, yeah. I wasn't really offered. I was kind of like last minute. Hey, this is what we want you to do. So I wouldn't say I was offered or I had the choice really, but glad I took it. It's harder because I'm also a college student, so when I do post, I put like 2 or 3 videos out at one time, and then maybe I go a day or 2 without actually posting. Lately, I haven't posted as much, but I'm trying to change that. It's a busy life. Not hard, but busy. It's time consuming. But yeah. You asked some good questions, man. Feel a little jumpy. I had that pre-workout, but it's not even hitting its peak. I'm trying to let it settle in, then I'll get started. You know, last year I was about 290 pounds. Now I'm at least 250. I have to be less than 250 now. Um, at least 250, 245 range. That's where I have to be right now. I cut off all this hair. I'm probably gonna lose another 5 pounds. Tell you, it made a big difference. You know what I need to post about? I need to post about the UFC. Welcome to my live stream, by the way, whoever you are. Um, I can't see. But Marcus Freeman, nah, I don't think he's ready for a job like that. I think he should stay at Notre Dame because he's still learning how to be a head coach. Um, and again, people say it was a down year. It was not a down year. I mean, look, it's a first year coach. He's still figuring himself out. He's really good as a defensive coordinator. I still don't expect Notre Dame to make a playoff year in his second year, even his third year. It's going to take years to really do that because Notre Dame, it's hard to get players to go there because of the grades, the expectations as far as academics. So you probably won't get, you are not going to get all of the best players like Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State or even Michigan, where it's as far as your grades go, it doesn't matter as much. You know what I mean? But I think he should stick around with Notre Dame. The schedule really isn't brutal like it is in the SEC, but I think he should stick around, beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You know, I think, yeah, beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Be competitive and try to beat the teams you're not supposed to beat. Ryan Day, no, he needs to stay over there. I don't want him anywhere near Texas. See, I like Michigan because I like how they play. Ohio State, and to be honest, it's not a dig at the players. I think they're really good, but Ohio State with Mike with Ryan, not Ryan Day, Mike Urban with Urban there, Coach Urban Meyer. Oh, I'm stuttering. They were a lot more physical than what they are now. Defensively, they didn't give up as much points. From 2019 up until now, the defense has not played as good, but they've had the same athletes, very elite athletes. The reason why Michigan has been able to beat these Ohio State teams, I've noticed is because the line of scrimmage isn't the same. They don't tackle as well as they did when Urban Meyer was there, you know? And even Coach Day with his first year, they played pretty well. But I don't know what it is over there. I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of Ohio State. It's just little details that I've seen. Because I've watched a lot of college football lately. I've seen Ohio State play. Teams like Penn State and Michigan, these teams shouldn't be competing with Ohio State. They weren't competing with them 4 or 5 years ago. Minus the one fluke win that Penn State had. James Franklin, I think he has something special going on there at Ohio State, Penn State. Because I see, since outside of Ohio State and Michigan, Penn State's the best team in the Big Ten. That's just what it is. They recruit well. I think he has something good with Manny Diaz being the defensive coordinator there. Outside of the Michigan game and Ohio State game, they've beaten everybody. They won the Rose Bowl. I think he's got something special going there. He recruits well there. They got a lot of athletic players on defense. Their offense can put up points. They just had somewhat of a running game, a pretty good running game this past year, something Penn State hasn't had. And I know I keep saying it's Trace McSorley, and I keep getting it mixed up because it's usually the same guy that plays quarterback, the same type of quarterback. Pretty good pocket passer, but doesn't really play great in the big time games like the Ohio State games. It's not him. It's Sean Clifford that was shit, sir. I apologize to some of the people that I've offended by saying the wrong quarterback name. They both play about the same. Outside of the quarterback, Penn State's got something coming back, so I don't think he needs to leave anytime soon. I think and I've said it already, but I'll say it again. If anybody beats Michigan or Ohio State this year and makes a playoff appearance, it's Penn State because of the talent that they have. They have to go to Ohio State, but Ohio State has lost two big games at home already. They lost to Oregon 2 years ago coming up, and then they lost to Michigan at home. So if those teams can do it, Penn State can beat them over there. And then Michigan, they have Michigan at home. And I know what the scoreboard said this past year, but Michigan and Penn State was pretty competitive. So, again, I don't think Dan Lanning, hold on. As far as James Franklin goes, I don't think he needs to walk into Texas where he's going to have to establish himself and kind of build up again, whereas he already has what he needs at Penn State. Now it's strictly on him because he has more control. He has more there. Versus Texas, he's going to have to start over. Not talent-wise, but you know what I mean. Dan Lanning, no, I don't think he's ready to handle something like Texas. Oregon does have high expectations, but he's already got talent there. He's clearly successful. I think he's going to do very well. And I like Oregon, so I think he's the right guy. They play with a lot of physicality at Oregon, especially lately. They have a lot of speed. They play pretty well. I think they're a team that'll give Utah problems in the Pac-12 championship in the future. If anybody beats them, it will be Oregon because they don't just have a very explosive offense. Their defense is pretty good too. You know, versus USC, it's like the Oklahoma Lincoln Riley. All offense, defense is terrible. Oregon's pretty balanced. So yeah, I don't think he needs to go to Texas because he's a first year coach, much like the Marcus Freeman situation. First year coach who's still figuring himself out, still filling himself out as a coach who's gonna make mistakes at a place where it matters to succeed versus Texas, you don't stick around long enough. You're still learning and you just don't know everything yet because it can cost you some big games. Notre Dame, I think for Freeman, he needs to stick around for the same reason like Dan Lanning needs to stick around at Oregon. You're learning, you're figuring things out. You're still having to beat the teams that you need to beat. I know at Notre Dame it looks worse because he didn't get 10 wins like Lanning did with Oregon, but it's the same thing, you know what I mean? So, and to be honest, Texas does have a hard schedule. You got Texas Tech, you got Oklahoma State, you have Oklahoma, teams that aren't great, you know what I mean? They're good teams, but they're not elite teams. But because you're Texas, it's harder for you because those teams don't like Texas, you know what I mean? It's competitive. And TCU over there too. So it's hard for me to come up with a coach to go to Texas, and where I see it works out perfectly. I just don't see anybody. Lane Kiffin, I think he has something in Ole Miss. He doesn't need to go there. I would say Gus Malzahn would be somebody I'd like because he was good at Auburn. I know people fired him because he wasn't winning enough, but he beat Alabama 3 times. You know, he beat him back to back at home. So if anybody knows how to be successful, it would be somebody like him. Because he's a guy that gets his players involved that want to play for him. He always had really good defenses. Their offenses were pretty good with Malzahn there. So I guess him, if that makes sense, that's my far as a dream. Hire somebody I'd want that wants to be there for the players because he's doing pretty good at Central Florida right now, UCF. So if he could do good over there, he should be able to do good at Texas. I'd say someone like him, Mike Norvell. But these are guys that I think they would have to settle in and build up. Like Norvell, he's this is about to be his 4th year, and I actually said from the jump he was going to be very successful at Florida State because of how he approaches the players, because of the building, the stepping stone, not stepping stones, but the building his house brick by brick approach that he took at Memphis, and now he's doing it at Florida State. Think about it. Florida State was terrible when he first got there. Now they're pretty darn good. They're a top 15 program right now. Like Uncle Lou said when he made his Miami video after they lost to Clemson, he said Florida State's a top 15 team program right now. And the difference I mean about that is anybody can look good in the top 15, top 10 one year and then go right back to being not very good the next year like Miami was. Not to down Miami or anything because I'm not a YouTuber that does that, but I'm just being realistic. Florida State, they're set up to be in position to be top 15 at worst, maybe top 20 if they're not very good, and at best top 10, top 5 if they're lucky right now. You know, as of right now, they're going to get better and eventually surpass that. But you know what I mean, if that makes sense. That's why I like Uncle Lou. Even though he beat me in a bet. A little petty about that, not really. But you know, someone like that is who I would want at Texas. Tom Herman, he worked, I think he was working out, but the COVID year hurt him. I know the year before that he's had injuries, and I guess that is part of coaching, so I don't know. It's hard to find a guy that I want to go to Texas who I think is going to steer him right and do the right thing. I don't know. Definitely not Jimbo. I don't think he needs to go. He's not going to go anyway. Jim Harbaugh, I don't know. If he were to leave Michigan, it wouldn't be to go to another college team. I think he would rather be in the NFL or he would just retire from coaching in general. I think he would do something different. Maybe be an analyst or something. Coach Sanders, when he was at Jackson State, I did kind of think about it a little bit because I like Florida State. I know he played for FSU. I'm being a little biased, but I think Texas would have been good for him maybe. as an experiment because when you're coaching in the small schools, small programs like Jackson State or anything like that, it's one thing. But coaching at Texas or Alabama, or Florida State, for example, that's a whole nother animal because your expectations rise. But I think it was a good fit for him going to Colorado because the expectations are not very high right now because they don't win. And he's in a position to make it work. And I think he will. Some people don't think he's going to do well. I think he's going to do very well. That's one thing I don't agree on with Uncle Lou. I think I agree with him on his first year. He'll probably struggle. He might not make a bowl, but they'll be competitive in a lot of games because of the players he's getting. And I think he's a guy that connects good with his players. I think he knows how to coach, obviously, because he was a winner at Jackson State. That means he knows how to win games. But I don't think it's going to translate into a bigger program like Colorado because of the competition they play, too. Nothing against Jackson State, but that's just what it is. The competition increases when you go to Power 5 schools versus the smaller schools. So, yeah. Another question I've kind of run into is why do you think Alabama will be the team to beat Georgia? It's simple. If anybody is Georgia's daddy, it's Nick Saban and Alabama. He's beaten Georgia more times than anybody else has as far as consistently, and he's just so doggone successful. Kirby Smart has lost to Nick Saban so many times to where it's kind of expected, despite the national championship. And personally, this year, I think he would have beat Alabama. But that's besides the point. The point is, if anybody has a chance to take their throne away from Georgia, it's Alabama because of the players, the coaching. And I like Kevin Steele as a defensive coordinator hire. I said that as an Auburn fan because I knew he would get viewers, but I'm being honest. Miami's defense wasn't really a problem in most games. It was the offense leaving the defense out there to get tired. Say, you know what? Screw this. We don't care to be here either. Miami's defense didn't play too bad, If Kevin still can do that at Miami, he should be able to do 10 times better at Alabama. That's just my opinion. Tommy Rees, I don't think he's bad as an offensive coordinator. I think he's a good hire because I get the offense wasn't great for Notre Dame outside of the running game. But with Marcus Freeman running the show, he's a first-year coach. Nick Saban is not a first-year coach. He's a legit established coach. So I think he could take any coordinator and make him look pretty good. So that's just my opinion. I think he was a good hire for Alabama. So I think Alabama's coming for everybody. That's just my opinion. The only reason I think Auburn would be the team to slip up and beat them is because every team has that one slip-up game where they lose or they come close to losing. Be realistic. Do you think Georgia would lose to Missouri if they played again? No, they'd beat the soul out of them. You know what I mean? But they had that one slip-up game on the road that nobody really cared about, and they almost lost. So that's that game for Alabama. It won't be A&M, I don't think. It's not going to be – they're going to kill LSU this year. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. So I think it's just something telling me Nick Saban's going to take those little comments about Georgia's the team now, not you. Ha, ha, ha. Personally, and anytime Alabama has been disrespected slightly by trash talk, Alabama comes out and rolls. So I don't expect anything different. Another thing I keep seeing is people saying Clemson will be back. I don't know. Dabo Swinney is at the crossroads right now. Yes, they've been winning 10 games or more every year pretty much with him, but the problem is at one point they were up here achieving everything. It's been slowly on a decline. And I said that last year, and I was right in a lot of ways. The only thing I was wrong about was Florida State beating them because it was in Florida State's field. But outside of that, I've been pretty accurate. The defense was going to decline because Brent Venables is gone. I didn't think the offense was going to take a step forward with DJ Uyunglele either, but not just because of him, but the offensive coordinator who I thought wasn't ready to take on that responsibility. Now with Cade Klubnik, that might be different. I think he's a great quarterback. He clearly didn't have the experience. That's why they lost the Orange Bowl. But it wasn't his fault that they weren't having success at all. They were moving the ball with him. So I think Clemson, it depends how Dabo approaches Klubnik and how he develops him. If he develops him and has him ready to go and the defense is like 10 times better, they'll beat everybody, including FSU, because that game's in Death Valley this year. I think Clemson's somebody to look out for next year too. It just depends, though. But if he keeps taking the same approach and doesn't change anything, and Cade Klubnik is good, but the defense doesn't really get better, he just, I got all this talent, we should be fine. They ain't going to do nothing this year again. They did make a bowl game, but outside of that, you won the ACC. Okay, great. So what? You've been doing that every year almost, so nothing special about achieving that, at this point. You're expected to do that. Show me something. Impress me. Clemson hasn't done that. That's just my opinion. Outside of being an FSU fan, just being a realist, they haven't done anything. Okay, they're not disappointment or anything, but yeah. Am I watching them? Probably not. Here's the thing: I don't have a lot of free time. This week was probably the least hectic week for me because as a college student, you have a lot to deal with, and I'm not just a regular college student. I'm a 3.9 student, GPA guy. I'm at the top of my class. Not the top, but I'm at the near the top. I have a lot. I have good grades. I tend to keep it that way, so I take that very seriously. Um, this week I didn't get a big project or anything to do as much, so I'm kind of just preparing things right now. I did have some classwork, but that wasn't very tough. Teaching also isn't. I wouldn't say it's really hard, difficult, but it takes a lot of time to plan. There's a lot of planning that goes into teaching. Because you plan lessons, you plan what you're going to be teaching and how you're going to do it. And then sometimes the way you're doing it in the middle of class doesn't work out. So you got to pull back and say, okay, that doesn't work. So maybe this works, maybe that works. And some days you have to plan ahead or in that moment. So that takes time. Coming up with your own assignments, your own things, that takes time. So again, it's not really tough. It's hard, but that's not the thing. It just takes a lot of time. You know, and sometimes like with the NFL playoff games, I haven't watched as much as I would like because I'm planning things, I'm doing things, and then it comes as far as planning things for YouTube because if YouTube's a big part of my life and that ain't changing, you know. So all that takes a lot of time. So like right now, this week wasn't quite as hectic as far as college goes. But if it's hectic, I deal with that on top. And teaching comes with a lot of responsibility. So that also comes with a lot of things that take away your free time or time that you have on your hands, like right now. You know. So anybody who's a teacher out there, they understand where I'm coming from. See, the thing is, technically, I'm not a teacher. Technically, I'm still a paraprofessional. I'm just taking on the teacher's responsibilities. I'm still in college. I go to Albany State University. I'm still getting my degree. So I will be a real teacher one day. It's just I'm not there yet. That's what it is. Thing is, as far as priorities, I'm not putting them in order. Teaching, learning how to be a teacher, being a college student, and going and doing YouTube are my biggest things right now. All that takes time. But now that I'm teaching, I have to take that more seriously because it's in front of me. Because I have a passion for it. Learning how to teach, learning how to do this and that. So that's what it is. I'm starting to feel at my peak right now. So in about maybe 2 or 3 minutes, I'm gonna stop my live. Yeah. So I probably won't be watching the XFL very much. I'll try to find time to talk about the draft coming up and all that, but we'll see. As I'm supposed to be doing my student teaching thing this fall. Also, I'm also taking the GACE again. The reading portion that came up very short on, like 2 points. Math part I actually did pretty well on. And you have to have a certain score to pass both to be eligible for student teaching, so that's also taking up some time. Time. Who else is there? I got one person watching right now. I'm going to probably go live more often. And I'm going to get ring light real soon. I'm supposed to be getting that. I want to get a few other things so I have better quality. That way I attract more people to my channel. But I'm blessed to have over 680 people following me right now on YouTube. I'm actually very happy about that. Because I made this channel in November of 2020. Nobody was watching me and all that. But over the years, I've stayed consistent talking about football, mostly college football. But I talk about the NFL a little bit. MMA with the UFC and Bellator, favorite fighters, who wins, this and that, making predictions. People like it, so I make it. And I like talking about it. I've had my public bet with Uncle Lou that I lost. That brought people to my channel. Well, I like Uncle Lou, so that's why I talk about him. I'm a big fan of him. And being genuine. Being honest. Sometimes I mock celebrities. I mock cartoon characters like Family Guy. I've made laughing like Peter Griffin because I sound like him. I'm actually going to come up with something for Seth Rollins. I'm going to do a parody of Seth Rollins really soon, actually. Haven't really had a chance to practice it, but I saw a promo he did with Roman Reigns talking about how he was a joke, his title reign was a joke. I'm going to impersonate that really soon. So hopefully that gets a lot of viewers. I do TikTok too, but obviously YouTube I've been bigger with as far as that. So Yeah, it is what it is. In another minute, I'm gonna end my live stream, actually. But we'll see what happens as far as everything goes. Now I feel like I'm at my peak, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop my live stream. I want to thank those who stopped by and was watching me, and I want to thank anybody who I've talked to. Thank you for stopping by. This is my first ever live, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it, and probably won't go live again for a good while because I have a very busy life. Again, it's very busy, so I don't have time. But thanks again, everybody. Go Noles, go Blue. Hook 'em horns because I'm a Texas fan. Uh, War Eagle because I'm Auburn from the SEC. Go Ducks from Oregon because that's my favorite team from the Pac-12. Haven't found my independent team yet. I'm thinking it's gonna be Notre Dame, but I know Notre Dame and Michigan hate each other, so that's gonna be hard to explain to Michigan why I like Notre Dame. But it's my channel, it's my life. I can do whatever I want. See you then.